this is going to be a non-spoiler, and the second part of the video is going to be a spoiler. I'll just say anybody who ever watched Dungeons and Dragons growing up, where's my 80s fans, Dungeons and Dragons fans? This gave the show so much closure. This episode was so fantastic. It was so like heartfelt. And there's some really good surprises. And it definitely left off for like a fourth season. Or no, a third season. I think, a third season, because they only did 2 seasons. But yeah, oh my god, it was so good. And I don't think it was the same voiceover actors, but Presto was different. Sheila kind of sounded like her. Diana kind of. Eric, I would say Eric and Uni and Eric were the closest, and Dungeon Master sound just like Dungeon Master, and obviously Peter Cullen didn't voice Venger, but it's action packed like an episode you would watch on Saturday, and yeah, it was just spectacular. Like, it's sad we did not get this episode regular back in the 80s. It's amazing that they went back. The animation looks just like the Dungeons and Dragons episode. The same score they used from the cartoon is in this episode, and everything. Like, the only thing different about it is the voiceovers a little bit, but it's exactly like a Dungeons and Dragons episode. So it is thumbs up. Anybody who's a Dungeons and Dragons fan who grew up with this cartoon or is finding this cartoon now, definitely watch it. Oh my god, it was fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna do my spoiler review. Okay, here's my spoiler thoughts. Okay, so like, they were in, I think the kids were in a battle, and like at one point Dungeon Master was like, you guys gotta fend off for yourself, I'm not helping you. And I was like, whoa, what the F? Like, Dungeon Master is just being really salty. And everybody's like, wow, Dungeon Master kind of failed us and stuff. And then they're at this campfire, and like Venger shows up, and Venger's like, fear not, I'm not your enemy or something like that. And I'm just like, what? I don't trust Venger. Who has ever trusted Venger throughout the whole season? And then he was like, help find this key and it will send you home. And I was just like, wait, what? And all the kids were kind of skeptic. They were just like, okay, so Venger said there's this key. If you find this key, they're going to go home. So then, like, some of them were skeptical, but Eric was just like, you know what? I'm going to help, Venger out or whatever so we can find our way home. So they meet this dragon thing, this creature that takes them over this like lava thing, and over this like it almost looks like Mustafar from like Revenge of the Sith. And Dungeon Master, they're trying to get to this castle or whatever. I don't know if it's Venger's castle. But there's a point where they get separated. Like, each of them, like, there's Diana and Eric on a dragon. I think there's somebody else. And then Eric and Presto and Sheila and Bobby is with them. They're kind of, like, on the ship, I believe, I think. So they get split up, and they get, like, Eric and Diana get to the castle first, and then they think they're like lost and stuff, and then they find each other, and then like Venger and Dungeon Master is up on the top of the castle, and like Dungeon Master's like, I believe in them to do this quest and everything, and Venger's like, he's kind of, how he is, he's just like, they're going to fail or whatever and stuff and everything. And then Eric and Hank are all like really at odds more than any of the past episodes. And they kind of at one point where they're about ready to do battle, in a sense, and they're just like, Hank is in front of this door, and to go into the castle, and they knew, like, if they go into this castle and find this key, they can find their way home. And then, like, Hank is just like, no, don't trust Venger, you know, why would he trust Venger? And Eric's like, get out of the way, this is our way home. And then, like, Eric's like, Presto, use your magic. And then, you know, the one thing was weird, because when Presto was using his magic, he always had the quote, the saying before he used the magic, but he would just pull something out of his hat and use it. So that felt kind of different. So it was like a lightning fist that punched the door open, and everyone ran in, and Eric's like, Hank's like, oh, we gotta stop them. And at the point where they were going through this other room, and Hank shot the arrow like up on the top of the doorway, and everybody turned around, and Eric's like, Eric and them is about ready to do battle, and then they go into this other room, and there's this like kind of stone coffin that has like somebody engraved on it, and they were just like, oh, is that Venger? And I'm like, whoa, is that Venger when he was like younger, before he became evil? And there was this like blue kind of mist thing that was following them before they got up to the room and stuff. And then they get into the room, and they push the coffin away, and there's the key. So the thing is, they had to throw the key into there was this like almost like space. There was like space in this on the other side of the castle where there's a big hole, and Venger told them they have to throw the key into the abyss, and that was the way to find their way home. But I think Venger was leading them off, because I was like, I don't know, like Eric was kind of like gonna throw the key in the abyss, and then Hank was just like, you know, Eric, don't do it, you know, don't listen to Venger, you know, something's up with him. And then while the other kids are battling this blue mist thing, Eric was gonna throw the key into space, into the abyss, but then then they flash back, like he starts thinking about what Dungeon Master said to him, and Venger's sitting there like, Eric, like, throw the key into the abyss, and he's looking at his friends, and then like he runs back to help his friends instead of throwing the key into the abyss, and I was just like, oh my god. And then so then he goes helps a friend, and then the creature like grabs Venger's arm, and Eric goes to put the key into the thing, and it like disintegrates Venger, and this pathway opens the door, and then it's like all this blue lightning is shooting out all over the Dungeons and Dragons world, and it's like portals are opening, and people who are enslaved by Venger is getting set free, and it seems a lot of creatures are going back home to their place in Dungeons and Dragons. And then Venger turns back to his human self, and he's like, Father, I'm back. And I was just like, everybody's like, whoa, you're Dungeon Master's son. And then it was like Dungeon Master says that, you know, since you guys did this, you know, here's your way home, and the portal opens, and it was like it was basically the whole Dungeons and Dragons show was about redeeming Venger, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. So then like Presto says he's not gonna go, he doesn't go back, and he's like, he wants to become a magician, and so like everybody rest goes through the portal, and like Diana gives like Presto a kiss, and they kind of hint like, you know, if you ever need us, Dungeon Master, we're not far away. So they go through the portal, and Presto like stays with them. And there was a girl, I think in the previous episode, I think that like Presto really liked. So like they showed her village, and she saw Presto, and he ran to her and stuff, and that's how it ended. And then the last shot was the kids at the amusement park getting off the ride, and I'm like, my god, this was amazing. Sorry this was a long episode for a spoiler, this video, but my god, it was so fantastic. I loved every minute of this fan-made finale.